Hey everyone, Sean from Buckeye Wedding Expo here. We are talking today with Carly from the Brightside Music and Event Venue on getting tips on choosing your venue for your wedding. Hello, Carly. How are you today?
Hi, Sean. I'm good. I'm not freezing cold, so I'm great.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things, but I'd like to start and let everybody know just more about the Bright Side, who you are. Tell us your story.
Fantastic. So I am Carly Dixon. My husband Hamilton and I bought the Brightside buildings about 15 years ago. We asked the community, what do we need that we don't have? This was right after 2008, 2009, NCR leaving, etc. The community came back and said, we need a mid-size music venue, sort of like our own Bogarts. And we need a trend forward event space that allows for choice of catering. So that's what we built. We've been in business since 2018, and we host an average of about 200 events a year, half of which are private weddings. The other half are public concerts and public programming.
Well, you have such a unique venue. I've been there a lot, obviously. Thank you. I wanted to, if you could let everybody know kind of the floor plan or how does the room look? You know, the themes of everything. It is very unique. It is not just a box with windows, which are how some venues are. So tell us more about the venue itself.
Sure. So this venue was actually built in the late 1800s as a coal depot for the city of Dayton. And what's unique about that is that it gives it sort of a shotgun general architecture that is supported by unbelievable hand hewn beams, single beams from single trees that are um, there are sometimes we can't get guests to kind of pay attention to what's going on because they're preoccupied by just the engineering of the trusses and things. Um, so it is a two-floor building, 18,000 square feet. The second floor, which does have like a white glove elevator access, our team can run the elevator for guests. It encompasses a beautiful kind of whitewashed, light and bright ceremony space. There are two suites, bathroom, kitchenette, and a beautiful kind of New York City sort of rooftop type, kind of like a deck. And then the first floor includes a separate bar space where cocktail hour takes place, which is supported by a beautiful, really kind of broad and long patio. And then a separate ballroom that does include the possibility of a stage and sound, just the necessary sound equipment if you were to host a band.
Man, so having all of those things is very unique. I just want to let you know. Sometimes it's like we have a ceremony location, we have a bar area, we have a lobby or something like that. You have everything at the Bright Side. So and it all works well. It's all themed well. It's got a very good flow from space to space. So, but we wanted to also get into what a venue does at the actual wedding. So understanding that there's a lot of things that have to happen at a wedding, a lot of coordination, a lot of logistics and things like that. Where does a venue lie in that type of, large scale event like a wedding?
Sure. So my point of reference is specifically this space and how it's organized. My own wedding happened at the Hook Estate. I don't know if you remember that in their
Oh, yeah.
backyard. It was a beautiful renovated. Anyway, it was all DIY. So that is I have that for reference, and then I have this space. For our particular space, I think maybe we do some things differently. I know oftentimes when I'm touring couples, they'll ask about, elements of service. Do you include a planner or this or that? And I would say we've tried to find a way to provide the key components that allow everything to feel streamlined, um, like there's continuity between vendors, but that we allow a lot of freedom and flexibility for you to have individual insight into how you want certain elements of decor or things to flow, et cetera. There's a lot of wiggle room there. The things that we specifically take care of, they're sort of informed by the fact that we do host around 200 events a year, half of which are public. At a public event, there is no one in the background serving as your planner or your BFF that's going to help you remember the details. It's all on our team. So things like having, there's an emergency, sorry. Somebody is very urgently getting tended to, I can tell you that. So things like we have parking signs that are going to go out as part of our processes. We're always going to have stocked water, so that there's water accessible on either floor, so that no one from your day, somebody arrives before the bar service is open or the catering has arrived, they're going to be able to have access to the kind of basic services that they'll need while they're on site. Elements like that we've tried to think of. We've thought about things like lighting and ambiance throughout the entire space. We have rheostats that are accessible by your vendor team even. So just because we wanted to have a certain aesthetic or vibe, if your photographer isn't ready for that yet, we basically tried to empower people with the tools they need when they need them, so that the event and the space feels curated, but maybe you don't necessarily have to pay for every single element of that curation, because some of it has just sort of been built into the infrastructure of the property.
Yeah. I
The
think
other
the other
thing
thing that you've done really well, just to kind of dovetail on that, is you've responded a lot and you have listened when people have said, and you continue to evolve that process. And we talked about that a little bit, but listening to people and responding, I think, is very important too.
Yeah, so we do, for example, like in the catering spaces, we could have all sorts of notions of what supports different catering teams in the space. But because we have so many different kinds of caterers that come, asking them while they're there, does this support what you're doing? Does this support your team? If there were changes that we could make, would they be? It's just smart. You just define those spaces around the folks that are trying to utilize them.
Yeah.
And we've kind of brought a similar logic, I guess, to the tools that we empower our couples with. Oftentimes, and it happens when I'm trying to help support an event being planned at a different venue. I have this urge, like, can I just make my own tool for this event so that I can get us all on the same page? Because I like the idea of everybody looking at the same place, so we all kind of know the boundaries within which we're working. So the specific tools that we've provided at the Brightside, we start with our online resource guide. It's more information than you'd ever want when you're trying to select your venue. It's too much at once. We tried to make our website incredibly robust so that you have really the key things that you need to know for locking in the space and making sure it meets your aesthetic, your date, your overall pricing those kind of parameters have been met. Once you've selected the venue, then we get into things, and it's all the things. You're like, maybe you can't sleep and you're like, I just really want to nail down my caterer right now at 2 a.m. I at least want to know who I'm emailing tomorrow. Those are really critical bits of information to get in your hands at 2:00 in the morning. Because why not? You're like, your neurons are firing. You're ready to start doing some of this research. You now have this tool at your disposal. And what I love about the resource guide is that it's it gets more and more intelligent with every event that we host, because we're also listening to our couples. We're listening to them. Oh, you've asked this question. We should have had that answered in the resource guide. Let's get that information added. So that's a great tool. We then have 4 open houses a year. What's beautiful about an open house is that maybe you've selected a vendor that hasn't been in our space before, and they're asking you questions, but you don't even really maybe know the context or the vocabulary that's being used, because it's a DJ asking about an XLR cable or something. To be able to send that person directly to the open house, whether you're coming or not, to get it straight from the horse's mouth. Show me what am I working with here? Or maybe load in information. Maybe a pastor needing to understand what is the format of what a ceremony is going to look like? How much room do I have to work with? So those open houses are a beautiful opportunity to come in. And really, it's 4 times a year that this space is carved out for you, your family members. Maybe everybody wants to practice parking because they're like, downtown parking, like come practice parking. And it's also a date night. You get to come out. It's a date night. You get your questions answered, but sort of in a festive, fun way. And then lastly, we have our online planner. So this is a Google Drive document. It's about 200 questions. But once you work through and our team can help you get to the answers, it's just a great way to then share with your planning team, your vendor team, folks that have questions with repetition, that instead of individual emails and feeling like, how do I get my arms around what I've said to everybody, your RSVP count, for example, super critical number for your caterer, for the number of linens you'll need, the number of tables, how many place settings now, how many centerpieces am I going to need. To know that everybody's looking at the same document, that when you drop an updated number into that cell, everybody's immediately educated about the current status of things it's just a huge relief.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about those things that you have to plan ahead. One of the questions is, how do I plan my bar? So, how does it work when it comes to alcohol at an event? Or, the bar is a very important part of many events. How does that work with the bright side?
Sure. So our experience, again, from couples asking us questions about how the bar works, they reveal to us that typically bars don't necessarily run the way ours runs. In most cases, it seems like it's a scenario where you're sort of identifying a tier of alcohol and a number of guests, and then you're sort of paying per person. Um, and there's a service fee component. Um, but that's makes sense when a caterer is bringing alcohol from a location into the venue spot.
Mhm.
That's sort of it would make sense that you would structure it in that way. Because we're a music venue, we have the liquor license, we have the liability insurance, we have this amazing bartending team with a full-time bar manager. So it's definitely much more like going into your favorite bar or restaurant and kind of being able to do, like, it's honestly just a tab. You open a tab, uh you tell us the max limit. We don't want any Sunday morning regret, in for any reason relating to your wedding. No regrets. So if you've told us, here's the max that I want my tab to go to. Our service fee is a flat 10% of your rental rate. So you're going to know what your service fee for your bar is before you ever even book the venue. And it won't change, it won't shift, doesn't matter what your guest count is, which, again, I love this. There's not if then
Yeah.
consequences to the fact that weddings shift and change. But we try to make as little of it change as possible while also giving you ultimate flexibility to change your mind.
Mhm.
So you've already dealt with the service fee, our pricing at the bar. So it's basically a consumption bar. So you've said, for example, I will not regret anything if in the morning I see a $2,500 charge on my credit card. What that tells us, our bar pricing includes tax. You already paid a service fee. We will make sure that that tab does not go above 2,500. If you've said, I want that include tip, and unless somebody does something crazy off the rails, how about stop it at 2,000 and add the service fee?
Yeah.
That's instructions that our staff can follow very easily. If you don't get to the 2,000, you only charge what you actually consume. So the beauty of it is that you're not really tied to anything, but what you are tied to is no regrets.
Well,
That we're all tied to.
you say no regrets. I know plenty of people who bought more alcohol than they needed, and they were drinking stale vodka for years afterwards because they had 5 or 6 handles left.
Well, and that's the fun part too, is we have 3 or 4 things on draft. We have a range. I mean, we're probably the only wedding venue where if people want to order liquid death, I mean, you can walk around drinking some liquid death, which is water for anyone that doesn't know what it is. It's super punk rock water. Um, it's just cool. It's
Yeah.
just cool to be able to have, what we like to say is when you can cater to the 3% in a way that leaves you regret free on Sunday morning, I think we've nailed it. So as it relates to that, let's say you have a family member who just really wants to drink $12 bourbons all night. They still have access to that as long as you're comfortable. I mean, I know we have some families that are like, I don't want anybody buying anything. We make adjustments for that.
Sure.
We have some weddings that are like, I don't even know if anyone cares about drinking. Once we paid the service fee, can it just be cash or credit? Absolutely. That's no different than a concert. We can do that. What about my uncle? Well, he can just buy his own. He doesn't want your free Bud Light anyway. Um, he's delighted. And now you're delighted because you wake up Sunday morning and you didn't have to buy what ends up being 25 people that wanted to drink bourbon all night.
Right.
So it's a nice way, I guess, that we found to span all those gaps.
Nice. Well, Carly, I could sit and talk to you all day, but we have to wrap it up. So I would like you to place a little bow on it, and I'm going to give the camera over to you and share some tips to our couples.
Hello, Dayton and beyond couples. Carly Dixon here from the Brightside. First and foremost, at the Brightside, it's our family hosting yours. We hope that it feels like a truly authentic experience when you and your family and friends are in our space. We've made really specific efforts to make sure that this space feels authentic to you and unique, that maybe yours is the only wedding that has happened exactly that way in our space. As you're planning your wedding, I hope that you keep in mind, number one, this is so fun. You don't do this over and over again in life, in most cases. This is your wedding. Have a blast with the whole process. Enjoy the planning, enjoy the tasting, enjoy the selections, all of it. Number two, make sure you select a spot that carves out some space for you to be the unique people that you are, bringing your families together. And number three, absolutely make sure that you're getting informed about any and everything that each of these vendors brings to the table. Sometimes these things feel like they'd be super easy to execute because no one's ever talked to you about bussing tables or where people are going to park, because it's not very exciting stuff to put on a checklist for a wedding. But at the end of the day, those little details matter as much as everything else.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to your amazing staff, by the way. Everything that you said throughout this entire interview, I was just thinking, and the staff takes care of that. The staff is always there to help. Everyone there is just amazing. So thank you so much for sharing everything with us today, Carly. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Sean.